Welcome to this week's episode of the Into the Wilderness podcast, which is in fact number 77. I believe iTunes has actually kind of got rid of the episode numbers. They are there if you click into them. So if we're ever referring back to a podcast, you have to click further, go deeper into the podcast to find out the episode number. It used to be very plain and simple on iTunes, but
that's kind of frustrating because I'm about to refer people back to a podcast.
It is. You can figure it out. I'm sure you can.
And the podcast I'm going to refer you back to is at the end of this one. You're going to be hearing just very briefly from Mike Day. Mike Day is the director of quite a few films now, but we interviewed him a year and a half ago about his film The Islands and the Whales. And if you go back to podcast number 23, you will be able to listen to that entire fascinating podcast. In here, what all he's going to tell you is a brief overview of what it's been like in the last year and a half, which has been a bit crazy for him, traveling around the world to film festivals, but also the fact it's in UK cinemas right now. If you visit the Islands with an S and thewhales.com, all of the dates are on there. If you're in Scotland, I know that the two coming up very soon for when this podcast goes out, 10th and 11th in Edinburgh, and even sooner than that, 5th, 6th, 7th is London. But it's all around the country, so just go check out the website and you'll find it.
Go and check it out. I have in fact seen it twice. One in the cinema, and then we were fortunate enough to have a viewing before the podcast as well. So that was the second time that I saw it.
Fascinating documentary.
I actually took a bunch of friends of mine to the Edinburgh showing a year ago, and they found it fascinating as well. So well worth going. And if you can't quite figure out where it is, just scroll all the way back to number 1, count to 20.
23.
And you will find the show.
So you'll be hearing from Mike at the end about that. But the bulk of this podcast we recorded at the Ewa Outdoor Classic, and it is with a friend of mine who is also a podcast listener and a fan of the show, which is great. But on top of that, he's probably one of the most experienced guides in Europe. We are going to be hearing from Tomo Svetic from Artemis Hunting. It's been so long ago, Daryl, I can't actually remember what we discussed. It was a very rambling discussion about hunting and experience.
You know what? I do actually know what the show's about, but I'm just going to let you have a little surprise. It's a good show. It made me laugh at points as well.
You were giggling when you were editing.
Yeah. In fact, it's a surprise today. We're going to just let you listen to the show and find out what it's all about from there. But like Byron said, it was recorded at the Ewa show.
Yeah, Tom is a really, really great guy and absolutely fascinating to speak to, and he's got a good sense of humour. So I think the only thing that we really need to tell you about before you get into that is competitions.
Yeah, and I've got a few other things to say.
You've got a couple of things.
Yeah. Do you want me to go?
Oh, you fire away. We'll give competitions last then.
Okay, we'll do... Yeah. Everyone's holding on for the competitions anyway. First thing is thank you for all the reviews that we got over the last few weeks. We've had loads of reviews, and everyone continues to leave wonderful reviews. We had the first piece of negative feedback on one of our shows on YouTube.
First piece in 2.5 years.
In 2.5 years, almost 3 years. Someone that said, I don't have my phone on me, otherwise I would read it out properly. But you can always go and check it out if you really want to. And they basically said that our show would be a lot better if we just weren't in it. Basically, that was the gist of it. Stop talking at the beginning. They were only there to hear Remy Warren, and they really couldn't give a shit what we had to say.
I'm pleased that you're a fan of Remy. We are too.
Yeah, we are too.
But we need to introduce the show.
So we need to introduce the show, and also people do actually kind of listen to, and also he had a dig at our numbers because there was only 140 views on YouTube, and as any of our long-time listeners would know, nobody really watches on YouTube because this is a podcast, and our show gets automatically uploaded to YouTube. There's no video on it, so there is such a small fraction of people that actually consume the show on YouTube. So thank you to the thousands of listeners, not 140, that we have.
Yeah, and all the many people who leave positive reviews.
Yeah, that was the only negative one we had, so I don't feel too bad. There was a nice reply that I left him afterwards. The only other thing I wanted to blab about, because he said that we blab too much, was Modern Huntsman. If you have ordered a Modern Huntsman, we promise you we haven't ripped you off. Your money is safe. There has been a shipment issue, not on our side. We ordered it a month ago.
And not even actually on the side of the guys behind Modern Huntsman, who we know quite well. It was the shipment company that they use. I actually think it's lost now.
Either it never got sent or it's lost.
But don't worry, we've already preempted this. We were so worried about it, we've actually ordered another batch.
Two batches. So we've actually got 2 more batches coming, and the first one is expected hopefully within a week of this show going out. And basically, if you have put in an order, it will be going out straight away. There's enough. We've ordered enough copies, and then we have a secondary lot coming. You're talking like 3 days after the next lot coming. So we have done everything within our power to make sure that the Modern Huntsmans are coming, and you can't actually get it any other way in the UK right now.
And the guys, they've actually taken their distribution back in-house now. So hopefully going forward, this won't happen because they are in control at their end and we'll be in control at our end.
And going forward as well, the reason why we're in this situation is because all you good people bought so many copies of Modern Huntsman is we sold out almost straight away.
But we're going to have a much bigger first order.
Yes, so we're going to have stock, and then from in the future, we will basically be the only place within the UK that you can get it from.
So it is coming.
Yeah.
Now to competitions?
Yeah. That's all.
That's you're done.
Yeah.
So competition winner from 3 weeks ago, actually, because
it's been so long. In fact, we've been to Svalbard since the last show.
So we have. It's time has absolutely flown. For our regular listeners, you will remember that we put out a show early. 1 week after. We brought you Jim Shockey's show 1 week after the previous show because we were out the country in Svalbard. The coldest it got was about -40 out there. And I think we're going to go and sit down with Johnny, who took us there to do some filming at some point and do a podcast about it because it was such an amazing place.
You know what? It's kind of surreal. It's kind of stupid that we forgot that we'd been on that trip, but it kind of doesn't feel real that we actually did it. If anyone doesn't know where Svalbard is, because one of my best friends, when I said to him I'm going to Svalbard, he thought it was just Norway, like northern Norway. And then when I started putting up pictures, he actually looked on the map and was like, "Wow, that is far north." Like depending on what map you look at, it is further north than Greenland, top of all of
next stop North Pole,
Alaska, all those places. The next stop North Pole. So it is. It's in terms of time on a flight, if you flew straight from Scotland, it would only be about 3.5 hours. But you can't do that. So you got to kind of go the long way around.
So it took us 2 days basically to get
together.
Although it's not really that far.
It's not that stressful journey, but I tell you what, it is worth it.
Incredibly unique. It's furthest removed from my day-to-day life as any other place I've been on the planet.
I've never seen anything like it in my life. And if you'd like to see some of the pictures, we've started putting them up on Instagram and on Facebook as well.
Yeah, but we're going to bring you a whole show with Johnny from Sandgrouse Travel and Expeditions, who took us there and who we are making a film for on the back of that trip. So I'm not quite sure when that's going to be out yet, but it won't be too far away, not in the too far distant future. So with that said, now to competitions. The winner from 3 weeks ago is Johannes Norgard, I think that's how you say your name.
Where's he from?
Sweden or Norway, I can't remember which one. Scandinavian. So congratulations, you won the Hornady reloading sign. And did you think about how to enter the next competition, Doug?
I think we're just going to make it really, really simple. What do they have to win? Is it reloading manual?
This one is it's the latest edition of the Hornady reloading.
Is that the
manual.
one that Rosie was holding?
No, but we can. Oh yes, it is the one that Rosie was holding. But we can
if you know Rosie, YouTube
reloading with Rosie,
and then you'll know what we're talking about. And it's I think are they all out now?
They're done. Yeah,
okay,
5
so
episodes.
It's a series of films that teaches you about reloading.
Yeah. So it's presented by a lady called Rosie, and she brings in experts, basically.
Is that actually her name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rosie Jones.
Okay.
And I think when we get the next batch of stuff up, we'll also have reloading diaries so that you can keep track of your loads. And
I thought you were going to say a full cutout of Rosie because I noticed there was a few of them floating around.
No, but they are reloading with Rosie diaries where there's a picture on the front and stuff. So if they come in time, for the winner who wins the latest edition of the Hornady Reloading Manual, we'll also stick in the diary.
So anyway, that sidetracked aside, to win this the Reloading Manual, I'm going to put a picture up on the Facebook page and the Instagram page of the Reloading Manual, and all you have to do is tag a friend below. And on Instagram, because I know that some people actually don't have a huge amount of friends on Instagram. It's not like you don't have any friends. It's just that I know some people don't. A lot of people follow
only a few select
few people. You can just comment below. And if you do not have social media, which I know some of you do, we don't exclude you. Just shoot us an email, and then we put you in the ballot just the same as everyone else, which I think is fairly fair. Over the last 2 months, actually, our listenership in the United States has skyrocketed. So hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
We will be over in the States in the next year.
I hope soon.
So we'd love to catch up with you. We've got a number of people that we are 100% going to meet up with that we've met through the show. Well, we haven't actually met them, but we know them from communicated because of the show, and we are going to meet up with them. And the one thing is, there's not enough people rocking car stickers in America. We've only shipped like 2 out. In fact, I need to check that the car sticker thing has been resolved, because the last person who bought a car sticker was charged like £15 for postage.
We
refunded them, don't worry, and it was only I think £1.40. It was a problem with our website, but we're going to give away some car stickers. So in fact, let's give away some right now. If you are from the United States, send us an email, and the first few people that we get,
email or Instagram message or something, and just say, I'm a podcast listener, I'm from the States, send me a sticker.
I need a picture to prove it or something. In fact, your address will prove it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are from the United States, then we'll send you over some. So yeah, first come, first serve for the people in the States. Don't worry, people in the UK and the rest of Europe will give you some as well.
Well, you've just run some competitions, haven't
I've just given away about 15, and they all went to people from the UK, Switzerland and Sweden, so I'm not excluding people.
Absolutely not. And very, very soon it's going to be Game Fair season. It's actually only like 5 weeks till the Northern Shooting Show, and we've got a whole ton of stuff happening at the Northern Shooting, which we've told you about in previous podcasts, including our film festival. We're going to be there, so if you're going to be at the Northern Shooting Show, if you're not, do it. Yeah. And if you are, come find us.
It's the place to be, honestly. Yeah. There's so many good people going this year.
It's crazy. We have people literally flying around the world to be at the film festival.
We've got people coming from South Africa. We've got people coming from Denmark. And that's about it. Actually, those are the furthest people.
Those are the 2 people I can think off the top of my head, but they're both speaking.
Yeah,
they're both speaking.
But, I mean, there is people coming from, like, literally all over the country. We know people coming from like the north of Scotland going down to the Northern Shooting Show. So
I know there's actually some other Europeans coming as well.
So I mean, no excuse. It's a good location. It's relatively easy for the Scots to go down there.
It's not that stressful.
And I guess for the people travelling north from like the hellhole, which is southern England,
it's easy.
I don't mean that in a mean way as in it's a hellhole. I mean it as in traffic and population, because I used to live down in Portsmouth, and whenever I used to travel north, it used to stress me out because of the amount of traffic. That's what I mean it by. There's some lovely parts of southern England.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be a great show. So much going on this year, some of which hasn't even been announced yet and will be announced in the next couple of weeks. So keep an ear out from that, from us, and also from the guys at Northern Shooting Show. You can follow them on all the social media. And that's us, I think.
Yeah,
time to hear from Tomo.
Yeah, enjoy the show.
And that's it, Tomo. Just like that, press the button, we're live. And I think this quite possibly is the first time we've ever had a consistent podcast listener on the podcast, but you're also someone that we wanted on the podcast.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
And you consume this podcast, you said, whenever you got a long drive or you got to commute somewhere.
Every time. Last time I was driving to Croatia, and I knew that drive will be like 19 hours. So basically I had like
19 hours?
Yeah, 19 hours. You have like 2,000, almost 2,000 miles, I don't know. Or 2,000 kilometers actually, sorry. So it takes a long time, and I put like 5 podcasts I didn't listen just for that journey. So
You're
I
definitely
had amazing.
Fed up of listening to us by the end of.
Not really, because every time when you have podcasts, it's something interesting. Even fishing, I'm not a fisherman, and still I was listening to
That's good.
To that podcast is good. It makes me relaxed while I'm driving, and
our dulcet tones relax.
Tomo was telling me yesterday that he used to be a very angry driver. But now he's a relaxed driver because he's not in a rush to get anywhere.
It's exactly that. Sometimes I really want to make a journey even slower, just to listen to the end, you know.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people tell us that.
I've not on our own show, but when I've been listening to things in the car, sometimes I've pulled into my driveway and sat there for 5 minutes.
I did the same,
just to get the same, and my wife would be looking out the window going, "What on earth are you doing?"
I was the same in my parking drive. That was with Remy.
Yeah.
I was standing there, sitting in my car for 25 minutes actually, and people would come, my neighbors, and say, "What's going on? It's all good, it's all good, it's great, Bluetooth, it's all fantastic."
We better stop talking about that. We are at the IWA show in Nuremberg. It's quite an event. This is only our second year here, but you've done quite a few.
For me, 4 or 5 times, It's
for people who don't know what it's about, why would you come here?
It's all about trade, basically, business to business. It's not for end consumers, basically. So all the dealers, they come here, they can talk to brands directly, arrange deals, make forecasts for sales in the next year, and so
you get to see a lot of nice shiny kit in one place.
Exactly that, and all the novelties and so on. This is our SHOT Show in the States. This is for this part of the world, the biggest one. So it's great.
You have been actually on my list of people to get on the podcast because you have a really interesting backstory, and you have done some. There's few people that I personally know who have done as much hunting as you. But for our listeners, just tell us how you've got to where you are and your hunting backstory, because I'm intrigued about that. I don't even really know it.
I grew up in hunting family. I'm 4th generation of hunters in my family, and I grew up in Croatia. It was at that time it was like liberal communism and so on. So my father would take me occasionally when I was 7, 8 years old to go and shoot pheasants with him, and he was breeding pointers. I was totally into dogs and hunting with dogs, and that's how I grew up. The first shot I had, I was 7, 8 years ago, 70 years old. And also, I remember in a Croatian hunting magazine, I was 7, something like that. I don't know why I remember that, but there was a nice article about ibex. And since that moment, I said, it was this is what I want to do once in a lifetime. It was my dream. And now every year I go a few times to Kyrgyzstan, or for myself, or just for other guys, guiding them and so on. It's good.
You've jumped quite a lot ahead there, because I know some of your ibex tricks. I want to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to be speaking to Rob Gearing
he was,
tomorrow, because he was on one of your trips.
Yeah, he was with me.
So we're going to speak to him about that. But there's a lot in between.
In between was loot.
Ibex.
Basically I was shooting pheasants and so on, and when I finished university, I was 18, 19 years old, and then I could legally own and possess firearms and start hunting. So, but before that, it was wartime, and basically, when my father was in trenches, you would find some rifle and go around. Nobody could stop you or wanted to stop you. It was like a little bit of anarchy, It wasn't.
So you could go hunt.
Exactly, and my will to hunt. It wasn't about poaching for meat or trophies. I just wanted to spend my time in the mountains with my rifle and go around like walking. I read all the stories from Craig Boddington as a kid and Ruark and so on, and you
it does something to you,
exactly.
Doesn't it?
So I want to do that. I want to do that. So that was my story there. And then I finished university, then military school. I came to England 12 years ago. I worked in a school as a teaching assistant. At that time, Croatia wasn't part of EU, so they couldn't accept my bachelor's degree and so on.
We don't like outsiders. That's the problem.
I know. But
you're still here, Tomo.
Exactly, unbelievable. Yeah, they got. I got the EU passport, so it must be that I was good boy. I worked in a school, and I was thinking every day, my God, this is not what I want to do. I mean, I didn't want to. I like teaching, but naughty kids and so on, and all these laws. I said, okay, this is.
You didn't have the freedom.
Exactly, right. I didn't have the freedom because I worked with kids at that time excluded from mainstream schools. So I was working one-on-one to push them back to mainstream schools. Mm-hmm. And of course, I mean, they would attack you and so on, and by the law you were not protected, they were protected, all these kids. And
they're trying to attack you. You're not exactly a small guy yourself.
With scissors. First
really?
morning in London was attacked with scissors, and I thought it's a joke until basically he was on me. I said, wow, what's this?
So you'd left conflict in Croatia.
Welcome to the British education system.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
And you know that Russell Square bombing and so on. I was there. I said, my God, I survived the war, and I was almost killed at the Warburton Place when that bus blew up. I was 200 yards from it.
Really?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Wow. I said, what's going on? So, when I was in school, I was thinking about, I want to do something I really like to do. I saw lots of guys in England, they had the opportunity actually to express their ideas and trying to chase their ideas. So I was thinking, I mean, hunting was my passion, my lifestyle in Croatia. So, and I also wanted to spend more time in Croatia. And hunting was the best thing. I saw a few adverts about shooting in Croatia, and I was thinking, my God, I can do this better.
Yeah.
And those guys would hire me in the past, like the Nana and big companies, they would hire you to guide people, you know. And there was always, agent promises one thing, and
it's a dirty world, the agent world.
Exactly, client comes with another idea, and you think, my God, they promised something which I can't deliver. So the whole thing, I was thinking, my God, I want to start something like this. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I started 10, 11 years ago, and I can't complain. I had really good support from clients in Britain, from people in media. I made lots of friends. I met so many nice people. I mean, it's just an unbelievable journey for me. But also because my clients would ask always for some new adventures, new hunts.
So you were always looking and creating new places to
go. Exactly. And when I went into business, it wasn't about money. It was just about chasing my dreams with somebody else and helping them to achieve their dreams as well.
It was like Remy was saying on that podcast, if you want to do something, just do it.
And that's what I've done.
You got to just do it.
Yeah, I can't complain. First of all, wife, she supported me massively because she had a regular job, well paid, and I didn't have that sort of things. So I started business with £300 in my pocket, saved as a t-shirt. It's an incredible journey,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And you've been now to some incredible places on the planet to hunt.
I've been to some, sometimes accidentally. You wouldn't believe, you go to one country and you're in mountain range, whatever, and you don't realize that you crossed the border quite.
Do you want to tell us that story?
So basically, I can. I mean, I don't care. They can't catch me. But the first time when I went to Kyrgyzstan, just observe ground.
You were just looking to see what it was like.
Yeah, exactly. How they operate and so on, because the cultural difference is huge. Expectations, treating people from different cultures, and so everything is different. So I wanted to explore that. So first time we went through mountain range and on horseback. I didn't know how to ride horse properly, so I was in pain. But okay, it's adventure. So it's a journey. We crossed to China. And we didn't know. And then when we were sitting, when everything was finished, he said, we were going here, here, and here. A guy, he was speaking a little bit Russian, a little bit broken English, and I can understand quite well Russian. It's Slavic languages like Croatian one, so he said, but we went to China. So, it happens sometimes because we had snow there, so we wanted to
go around.
Exactly. through China. Oh, yeah. And then I spoke a year after that. I met a guy at the airport. I saw him in Tomo Svetic gear, yeah. And I said, "Are you hunter?" He said, "Oh, yeah. I'm going to Mid-Asia. I want to shoot Marco Polo and so on." And that was brilliant. And then he told me a story about him and his friend. First time when they went, they also crossed to China. But Chinese border, basically, they thought that somebody is smuggling something, so they were shooting at them, and they fired
in
back.
the mountains.
In the mountains,
Yeah?
You wouldn't believe. I mean, that's what they
So
told
he's
me.
having
So-
a gunfight in the mountains with the Chinese.
yeah, they said we fired a few shots and we ran away, but they didn't shoot at people at the border.
Yeah.
They just fired, and they said, "What's happened? Nothing. Nobody chased us. Nothing." And the guide who took them there, he didn't know the area properly, because those nomads, they live there, but some of them are into hunting, some of them are not. Those into hunting, they know area really well, but they have also young guys and they want to
Yeah, learn
push
and
them
get
in.
out.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one of those. But I love that part of the world. Yeah, it's
The pictures from those ibex trips are just incredible. I mean, the closest I have to that experience was a recent trip to Nepal. It kind of, in some parts,
Yeah.
had like similar look to it from the pictures I'd seen.
definitely. I mean, I would love to go to Nepal because, speaking to Simon, it's different type of ground, lots of rocks and so on. In Kyrgyzstan you have rocky terrain, but you have also like grassy slopes, and it's magnificent country, nice people. I can't say that they are not. They are just different. And whenever I take people, or if I send them there with my guys, with my team, they will do the job every time, and they will give you chances. You should be prepared to take it, but you always tell them all these small tricks, because you know what, when you send client there, even when I was the first time client there, I wanted to shoot ibex, they were talking in Russian in between them, and we saw herd of ibex. Said, okay, they're all nice, but 6-7 years old, at that age you don't shoot them.
You want something older.
exactly,
Yeah.
older, more mature, and I mean, you're paying, it's not cheap, yeah. So you want a good trophy, and that money they will keep for conservancy and so on. It keeps the poachers away. But nomads, your guides, they want meat. They don't care about horns. All they want you
they
to
want the
shoot
food.
as soon as possible, to finish the hunt as soon as possible and get the meat. You get horns and skin.
And they get meat.
Exactly. And they were talking to each other, oh yeah, we should push them to shoot those. I said, guys...
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And they were so confused, they didn't know what to say. So I said, listen, they're small. No, they're good. I said, listen, they're not more than 80 centimeters, and I'm not here to shoot anything below 100.
Because you want to shoot an old
exactly,
animal.
old animal, mature animal, animal which would die in the next 2-3 years anyway. They have lots of wolves. They have even snow leopards now on some grounds, which is good.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing. We saw some trucks and so on. And that's how it happened. So every time when I send somebody, I tell him exactly what can happen, the whole scenario, what they want to do as guides and nomads,
Yeah.
because they don't care. All they want is to finish that hunt as soon as possible, go back to camp and eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how does the those areas there, you were saying that the monies and some of the fees there goes to protect the conservancy.
goes.
So how does that work, Tomo?
It works basically, you pay tag to government. So every tag you use, they know exactly who shot, when and where. So you get CITES permit, all the permits you need. After the hunt, they go to officials, they stamp it and so on. To make the process a little bit quicker, because they're lazy and they always expect bribe, I mean tips.
Yeah.
Let's put it in this way. So you tip them to do their job, which they should do anyway, but they say, okay, in 5 days come.
Incentive money.
Exactly, yeah. They would tell you, oh yeah, in 3 to 5 days you can come. I said, but all I need is just stamp to export the trophy. Oh yeah, but it takes 3 to 5 days. So what can you do?
I've been there in South Africa.
So yeah, you know how it
Yeah.
works. But yeah, for every tag, money goes to government. But also, in every county where you hunt, part of that money from the whole hunt goes also to that county officials for hunting and protection and conservancy and so on, which is great. For rangers, they have rangers as
So
well.
they're actually physically patrolling it to make sure people aren't poaching.
They do. I mean, what's happened to my guys 2 years ago, they were hunting in the area where it's national park, but you can't see the borders, obviously. But guys, they knew the area. But there was official guy, ranger, and he claimed that my guys shot ibex in national park, and they were at least 500 meters from the border, and there is no way that they would go there because the area wasn't with ibex, it wasn't great, and they were shooting on rocks on the other side. But they couldn't prove that they did right, and the ranger guy, he's official, so they didn't have a choice. They ended up in police department and so on.
Really?
He said, I have it on GPS and so on. So they called me and said, listen, we are stranded here. We don't know what to do. I said, you don't do anything. I'll speak to my team. We'll sort it out. I know how it works. All they wanted to do is, that ranger, is to get 700 euros for himself, or dollars.
For capturing somebody.
Exactly.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
So
He couldn't prove
Okay.
that they got in because he couldn't. He has GPS, but on GPS it didn't show that those guys were in.
So I can see the positives
Unbelievable.
there because their incentive is to make
Yeah.
sure they catch poachers
Yeah.
or people who are doing things they shouldn't.
Exactly.
It's just a shame that there's still this little around the
Yeah.
back.
So at the end, everything ended up well. I mean, I had to pay lots of things. Huge tip. We are talking about thousands of dollars for something shot perfectly legally. Otherwise, you wouldn't get trophy. You wouldn't get your rifle back and so on. So it was sorted out.
But they are there. Those guys are in the mountains watching.
They are. So you learn every time. In these countries, when you go there, you have to expect unexpected things.
It's kind of the excitement of it, isn't it?
That's what I like. And most of my guys, when they go there, they say, we go for adventure. Whatever happens, we don't care. We are there for lifetime adventure. Because you need 10 days, for example, trip, 10 to 12 days altogether, from UK and come back and so on. So you don't want to, you can't afford 10 to 12 days every year or every few years. Everybody is busy, You have family, you have to go on different holidays. So when you go, you want a lifetime adventure, sit around campfire one day when you are older and
talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's those kind of adventures that you tell the stories about.
Exactly.
I tell you, I was just thinking while you were telling me that story, the one thing that really made me laugh was just David Wright was with you.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Tell our listeners the story about him eating the testicles.
Oh my God!
Do you know this, Charles?
I've heard roughly the story of David.
That was
our man on Field Sports channel, David Wright.
Yeah. That was funny. Before we went to the trip, Craig Coote from Tier 1, a great friend of mine, and it was his second trip to Kyrgyzstan. Just again, he said to me, Tomo, I just need something to relax. Rob Gearing said, I'm in. So we went, and I called David to join us. So 2 days before we departed, Craig told me, he said, I told them a little bit, lots of BS, to make them scared and so on. He said, Rob Gearing is not bothered, but I think that David will think about it. I said, what did you tell them? Come on. He said, oh yeah, that they will eat, like in initiation, they have to eat dried horse testicles. I said, what do you mean? He said, you remember that hard cheese? I said, yeah, exactly. They will eat that. And I told them that those are horse's testicles, dried. I said, no way. So I thought it's a joke. Anyway, we were driving from the airport, and after, 6 hours of driving somewhere in mountain range, there are nomads selling their goods. Whatever they produce from normally horse milk, they were offering horse milk and that cheese.
Little round balls.
Yeah, round balls, but it's so hard and really, really salty and sourish. I mean,
Sounds disgusting.
sounds disgusting, tastes disgusting. We tried it. We were alright. We survived. But so David Wright, he was there. I was filming him with his camera, and he was totally into dried horse testicles. Actually, he thought I'm eating this shit, and Rob was there as well.
Yeah.
So Rob said, I'll do it first. He did it. She said, yeah, it's a little bit chewy. So it was David's turn. He did it. He almost puked.
He was gagging in the video.
Yeah.
It's amazing what the mind does to you when
Yeah.
you think something else.
Yeah, I don't think he would do it, but because Rob did it, and he said, "Oh, it's all right." He wasn't all right.
He thought,
but
"I got it."
Yeah. I'm a strong guy. I'm Spartan. So
Yeah.
David said, yeah, he tried to do it, and he almost puked there, and I felt so sorry for him. But the deal was with Craig. Don't tell them anything until we finish the hunt and everything. So they were talking about horses' testicles every single day, all the time, how disgusting it is, and they don't feel right. But it's also altitude sickness,
Yeah,
so
of
you
course,
never know.
yeah.
Exactly. So was it because of cheese or not? But my God, that was funny. And
what was his reaction when you got out the mountain and you told him?
I didn't know if he's going to kill us or what, because he couldn't believe what we've done to him.
That's so mean.
Oh, he called us with few names, of course, joking and so on, but yeah, he couldn't believe. And I said, it wasn't my idea, it's Craig. And Craig said, no, it wasn't mine, it's Thomas. I said, Craig, come on, don't stop lying. But it was great. And then I think it was a revenge. He filmed me how I'm snoring there in the sun. Yeah, and I can snore.
The guide supposed to be taking us sleeping in the sun with his head.
Yeah, we
against
were
the rock.
waiting. We were waiting actually for 4x4 vehicles. We finished the hunt. We came from mountain range, and horses were exhausted. We were exhausted. I think that day we covered between 50 and 60 kilometers.
Wow.
On horses in one way, with loss of meat. I mean, we shot 3 ibexes, and we are talking about at least, I don't know, like 200 kilos of meat, plus all the equipment for 7 days. I'm heavy.
How many people were with you?
At that time, there were Rob, Craig, myself, and David as a camera guy for Field Sports Channel. Who was there? I had 1, 2, 3. I had 3 guides. 3 guides. 4 joint, 4 altogether. Because. Yeah, sometimes I take. It's not mine.
That's all right. No, that's okay. There's a phone. There's so many people walking around here. It could be someone else's phone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Never
sorry.
know. Yeah, sometimes it depends on clients we have. Actually, it's my second one.
2 phones.
I was wondering. I was like, it's not your phone, but I can hear it. I can hear it. Someone left
sorry,
the phone
guys.
next to us.
No, I have few always. See this Nokia? It's cheap one,
Yeah.
but the battery lasts like 9 days. So when
Yeah.
you go to remote areas, you rely on this. On an iPhone, you can't rely.
No,
it's good for photos, and that's it.
You can't rely on an iPhone. It just the cold kills it in 2 seconds.
Exactly. Samsung, all these fancy phones we use, they're great for multimedia, whatever we are using. But when you go to remote areas, I always have cheap Nokia, which will last forever.
Did they not start remaking it?
Well, that is it. I think.
that the- is
I think,
that one of
I
the
think
new
it costs
remakes?
£34, and like you said, it lasts
Yeah.
9 days.
I have like 3 or 4 of these because they're so cheap, and they can take any SIM card wherever you travel.
Yeah, you just put it in.
Exactly, you put in, and it can save your life or whatever. Sometimes you depend on bloody battery. I had, it was like 4 years ago. Guy couldn't. He had like panic attack. We were hunting in a mountain range, and everything was fine. But he was older guy, and after Shama, and when he saw where we have to go down the cliffs, of course it was safe, but he had panic attack.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old and so on. So our batteries were flat, and then I remember that I had red one Nokia in my backpack. I took it out, and it helped me to call mountains rescue guys.
So you actually had to get him off the mountain.
I mean, I asked him, do you want us to take you down or I'll call mountain rescue? And he said mountain rescue. Basically, he didn't want to walk.
Was that really the reason?
I guess so, because...
But how far had you walked up? You must have gone quite a...
I mean, we are talking about 2 kilometers, and he covered it up. When we were going up, he was fine. But when we were going down, oh my God, it looks steep. I mean, it looks steep, but I wouldn't take you somewhere where you can't walk.
Yeah.
You know, so
that
many
was that?
times. Yeah, that's happened only...
What country was that in?
In Croatia.
Croatia.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But yeah...
Is there a good mountain rescue system in Croatia?
Very good.
Very
Fantastic, yeah. They're all volunteers, but my God, they save so many people.
Same as Scotland. All
Same,
volunteers, yeah.
They get some funds, I don't know, people, donations, whatever. But they save so many tourists every year, because lots of tourists, they go there in
Lots
flip-flops.
of tourists are stupid.
Exactly, yeah.
We have the same problem.
We have the same
You have the
problem.
same?
Same
Yeah.
problem.
It's ridiculous.
They walk up a mountain with a t-shirt and shorts on.
Yeah,
and it's
and
forecast
flip-flops.
for clouds to come in.
Yeah.
and to be snowing at the top.
Yeah, because it's constantly, it's even worse than in Croatia. I mean, weather can change so quickly. But they go, actually, they rescued so many people in flip-flops, and they had hypothermia. 2 years ago, basically, there was German school. They had like 60 kids trapped in mountains, really high mountains, and it was cloudy and so on. And they had summer clothing, and the temperature dropped to +5 degrees. They managed to save them in last minute, basically. But I mean, how can you do that? You have to be stupid.
You just need a little bit of common sense.
Exactly.
But that's. We always talk about encouraging people from the towns and cities, the urban places, come and experience the countryside a bit. But two things: one, you got to respect those places. Well, in respect in the way like don't leave shit there, like rubbish, and try not to leave your mark there.
Yeah.
But also just try and understand a little bit about it, because
the exposure will kill you.
Exposure, yeah. I mean, it's not dangerous, but you got to have the right kit with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the thing is, everything is available online. You have agents, you have outdoors people. You can find the information what you need. You don't need the most expensive kit if you are going for one hike. I mean, everything is available, but they're just too lazy, and it's just a hill. It's not, especially not in Scotland. I mean,
yeah, it can change quickly.
I went to so many places, but one of my hardest hunts was in Scotland.
Really?
Well,
First time, yeah.
The Marine, he died on the hill.
But that was at the back of my house.
But Glen Clover.
Really?
Royal Marine.
He went up for a run on the hill.
Unbelievable.
The cloud came in while he was up there.
So
and because he was doing like a kind of like an endurance run around the hill.
He was
came
exhausted.
in and he bunkered down for the night because he knew he wasn't going to get down.
My God.
And the exposure got him during the night because he was
wearing a t-shirt.
But they sent the 4-5 commando from Arbroath to go and find him. They sent the Marines in to go and find him, and they found him. Unfortunately, he didn't make it.
Guy, I mean,
So that just shows you, right? There's a guy who's a Royal Marine, and he was going on a training run.
Experience and common sense.
But he died.
And still,
so sad.
unbelievable.
But it just shows you that he would have had the knowledge to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, it turned out the way it did. But if you go up there unprepared completely, it will get you.
I remember my first time in Scotland.
Where were you, Tomo?
I can't. I mean, it was Loch, one of your lakes.
Oh, really? Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
We got thousands of them.
I think it was 2 hours driving from Calendar. Is it Calendar place?
Yeah, Calendar. Yeah.
Somewhere in mountains, and nice lake, long, narrow lake. We were hunting there, and my guide, he was hunting on property he was given to reduce deer population or manage it, whatever, and it was great. But the thing is, for me, it was first time that I was talking in the mountains, soaked with water.
Normally, all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's normally dry.
I couldn't believe. I mean, I said, really, swamp.
We have this debate all the time.
30,
How can
40
there be a
degrees?
swamp up a hill?
Exactly.
Even when we were hunting with some of the Scandinavian people we've had over and that, and the terrain is actually very, very similar, especially in the places that they shoot reindeer.
Yeah, I agree.
They still couldn't believe that we had a swamp still at the very top of the mountain.
That is the thing, Hill is hill, but in Scotland that hill is soaked with water.
And soft.
Soft, yeah. And that was another problem. I used to hunt on rocky terrain and hard. Here I was like on sponge all the time.
And it really drains
It
your
works,
legs.
it works
as well,
your legs
doesn't it?
big time.
It makes me more tiring, more tired. It's more exhausting. And my guys, they were running actually all the time without any problems. But they grew up there.
They live there.
For
yeah.
me, I was fit. I was younger and so on. So I was keep tracking them. And then we saw a herd of deer, and they started running around the hill. My God, I said, okay. And distance between me and them was like 50 meters. And I was running, and there was like, you call it bog?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I ended up to my waist. And I didn't want to make any noise. But the thing is, I thought it's like live mud or sand. So this is it, my end.
Oh, that's it.
But I don't want to spook the animals. So I was there with the rifle, sinking slowly. Said, I couldn't get out. I mean, it was
Peat bog.
yeah, it's black. Oh my God! So I managed to pull myself out. I was black. I mean,
It's just
they
that, yeah, it
saw
just
me.
sticks to you.
Yeah.
Did you get the deer?
I got the deer at the end of the day. I mean, the thing is, we were into 300 deer maybe. We found stags which we would like to shoot and so on. Everything was perfect, and suddenly the whole herd started running. And I couldn't believe what's happening. And the guy said, "Oh, walkers," but I couldn't understand him because Scottish accent.
Yeah.
At that time, I was new guy in UK, so all these accents and so on. So I was learning. And he said walkers, and said, "What is he saying?" And then I saw people basically walking around with Labrador, whatever
the dogs, yeah.
And I was thinking, my God, this was my time to end this hunt in the nicest possible way. And I was so mental. I was mad about that. Anyway, we managed at the end of the day to get a really nice stag. I will never forget. But it was one of my hardest stalking day ever.
Really?
Because
I mean, that's incredible,
Yeah.
considering where you've
Yeah,
been.
exactly.
But you must have been cold and wet by the time you got
Yes.
there.
I was. I mean, you're sweating all the time.
Yeah.
It was raining. It was.
It doesn't help. You're wet on the outside, you're wet underneath,
Yeah.
and you're walking through bogs.
Exactly. I mean, I was thinking, should I go just naked next time, just in slipper, whatever, speedos, and that's it. But it was incredible experience. I love Scotland.
One of my. Is a train? Oh no! I was going to say, has a train come through?
No.
One of my earliest memories as
Yeah.
a little kid was my dad used to take us. I mean, Daryl might have just been born, but he was too big to walk, too small to walk, and he used to take me to this series of little lochans to fish for pike.
Oh, nice.
And I used to have like a onesie zip-up camo thing, and you think you're the shit when you're 4 years old and you got your onesie camo on, and he would be marching along there with the fishing rods, and I'd follow on eagerly behind.
Yeah.
And I used to love bouncing on the soft moss.
Yeah.
And we were walking across. You can see where this is going, right?
Yeah.
And I found this bit of soft moss as we're going, run, jump off, end in, up to my neck.
Oh my
Up
God.
to my neck.
Yeah.
But my dad, he was, a bit of tough love.
Yeah.
He said, right, that was your fault. You did that. You're cold and wet now. Yeah, I'm cold and wet. Well, we're still going fishing.
Really?
So you're just going to have to tough it out. I'm sure, I can't remember because it's so long ago.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure he made the fishing
Of
trip
course.
shorter.
Yeah.
But we still went fishing because I'd been
Yeah.
stupid enough to go and jump in the
But
bog.
that is the right way, actually,
Yeah.
because you learn quickly.
Yeah.
For next time, I do the same. My son is just 7 years old, and every time when I can take him somewhere outdoors or his mom, he goes. And if he makes mistake, sometimes
just
you
growing
feel,
up, isn't
yeah,
it?
exactly. And every time when he passed the obstacle, whatever it is, he feels so happy, and then he tells you in the evening, Daddy,
He tells
we
you
did
the
it."
story, yeah.
Exactly, and
That feels
I
good.
I feel good as well.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up as well.
Right. When Dad would take us, when you're a kid,
Yeah.
he was taking us to go and shoot rabbits with an air gun.
Yeah,
So he would be with the air gun. And for us, I might as well have been hunting buffalo.
exactly.
Because when you're that age, the grass is taller than our heads.
Yeah.
And it's a rabbit, and it's so cool, and it's an air gun that's got double barrels, which of course
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't. It's just an under. It's an underlever.
And so you're not actually strong enough to cock it.
No, we're
Yeah,
too weak
yeah,
to
yeah.
do this,
Yeah.
to cock an air rifle. And he would always say the same thing, you know, when you want to come with? Of course you want to come with.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's no problem, but you keep up. I'm not waiting for you.
It's unbelievable. I mean, that piece of metal,
Yeah.
air rifle, as a kid, I gave you so much confidence. You felt like grown up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you'll remember the first time when you're actually allowed to go and take it up by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I remember. Oh my God, I'll never forget those things. I mean, I still have those air rifles, and now my son is using some of them. So
Yeah.
it's
We still
yeah.
got all our old original
Really?
ones. Yeah,
That's
sitting
so
in the
nice.
cupboard.
Yeah, I broke some.
Diana 25, that was my first one.
Mine was Slavia, Czech Republic, and one was made in ex-Yugoslavia by Zastava.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
They
good.
still make guns.
Yeah, they still make guns. Yeah, and they were good. I don't know how my father got them, but yeah, I was using them, and they're still there. I think Slavia is broken. I wanted to fix something. I was, I think, 12 years old,
And you broke it.
Yeah, exactly. And
You're always, that's the other thing you're always wanting to do at that age, is you want to tinker with it and make it more powerful
exactly.
and better.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and that
you always
old-
want to like pack
yeah.
a spring out or
Exactly
Yeah,
that. And all these old guys, they would tell you, oh, you have to change the spring. Of course, they were 18, 19. They were making fun of me. And yeah, I would go there and, oh my God, I mean, what am I doing? I don't even have the spring. But yeah, everything was disassembled.
Trying to stretch it.
it's those early experiences
Yeah.
is what set you up and just give
I
you that
think
thirst.
so, yeah.
And even when you might drift away from it,
Yeah.
but if you've had that early kind of experience,
I agree.
Most of the people that I know, if not all of them, who have had
Yeah.
that kind of early experience,
Yeah.
they always come back to it.
I think so. I mean, I had always urge to explore places, meet new people, and hunt in the most remote areas I could think of. I still have dream about going to Alaska, for example, Yukon
Have
River.
you never been?
No, I didn't have time, because the thing is, when they have season, I have season, and I
yeah.
have to. That is the problem for us. My market and where I operate mostly is Croatia, then Slovenia, a little bit of Hungary. Occasionally I go to Africa and so on. But this is where my clients want to go, mostly to Croatia, and I take lots of them. Yeah, different species, Mouflon, Shama, all open ranges in mountains above the coast, which is great. But also I have dreams. I want to go somewhere.
Alaska's high on our list.
When
Exactly.
you take clients to Croatia, do you now take them on the Game of Thrones tour before they go on the hunt?
No, because it's so. Oh my God, that thing everybody is asking, especially the guys from the States. You know, Games of Thrones, and I didn't even watch things because I.
You
didn't
need
have-
to. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, everybody says. However, I don't have time, and if I have time to watch something, it's more about hunting. Then okay, I'm going to go to see what you filmed or somebody else. You know, that's what I like. Ian did some stuff in Alaska.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. Exactly what I want to do one day when I find time for myself. And after that podcast with Remy, I'm just thinking again.
That must have got you
that
buzzing.
Yukon fever, you know. I want to go there. My dream is to go there, shoot moose, or at least see something, and go in canoe down the
Yeah,
river.
that would be amazing.
That pack we were talking about recently. That in the States they do a lot of that pack rafting, where they'll pack raft out of a place, or they
Exactly.
get dropped in and pack raft out. That's
Yeah.
totally
That'd
what
be
they do.
seriously cool.
So cool.
The really annoying thing is it would be too complicated in Scotland because you'd be crossing too many
of course,
people's
yeah.
borders with
firearms.
firearms.
Oh,
but,
that is, yeah.
But you could do it in Scotland because we do have enough long river systems.
You know what? Maybe we should try and set one up.
Just try it, or before you start something, thinking about it, just prepare it. All the guys who are having border or land.
Yeah, you just speak to them.
Can we just cross it for purpose of this, and this? We won't poach, we won't shoot.
It'd be amazing to do that. I love that.
Exactly.
There's something romantic about it.
Yeah, I mean, what I've done is, I remember we went on the island in canoes, and I saw Mouflon on that island, and I was thinking, my God, if I had a rifle now, it would be like almost like in Yukon, you know?
Yeah.
You go there, you shoot, put on kayak and go back.
Take back.
You have like 3-4 kilometers from the mainland. It's fantastic. Little adventure, but it's an adventure.
So, in terms of Croatia,
Yeah.
what can people expect if they want to go and hunt there with you? From the little that you've
Yeah.
just been talking about now, it just
Yeah.
sounds like an absolute paradise of game.
I mean, it is in a way, because it's where we shoot or hunt shama, Balkan shama subspecies, or mouflon, or even bears, and we have lots of wolves. We are not allowed to hunt them, unfortunately, even though there is more and more of them and they cause lots of problems. But we have also lynx. So you have like 4 big predators there. It's fantastic. Animals are wild.
You got big open ranges to hunt in.
Yeah, you're just
So how does
on
it
the
work?
mountain.
Is it concessions or private?
You have
land?
concessions, private, government. Private concessions. They are private concessions, but the land belongs normally to government. So you are paying to Ministry of Agriculture or Hunting just
The
for
fee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whatever money you make with commercial hunts, basically it goes to pay damage on agricultural fields, or it goes to pay damage on cars when they hit
So it's like
deer
the
or
compensation for having the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hunters there, they suffer a lot because everything they pay, whatever happens, they are responsible for animals, and they are the ones who are paying. And even when we had in February, we had lots of snow, really lots of snow. It was really harsh winter, short, but those 4 weeks, we put tons and tons of food all over Croatia, wherever it was hit by snow. Hunters were going there non-stop, leaving some hay, corn, and so whatever they had. Yeah, so it's good. But Croatia is nice because the thing is, when we go to shoot or hunt in those mountains above the Adriatic coast, you're 2 hours maximum from the airport.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So it's quite accessible.
Exactly, very accessible, very easy. You come tired from journey. We have only short journey to get there. We go to one of our villas or hotel. It depends which species we are hunting. And next morning we are almost there. Sometimes you have to drive for, 30, 40 minutes.
So if you
But
don't
still
have the
it's-
time to do like a 12-day
Exactly
monster
that,
expedition,
yeah.
you can still experience that a bit of the
Yeah.
wild, but
Definitely.
within a few days.
Yeah. Normally you need like 3 days, 3-4 nights to shoot really nice mouflon or shama or bear. We have lots of brown bears. They can be incredibly big, and it's
a
really
managed
good.
population
Yeah.
of bears. You have a certain amount, a limit that
Yes.
you can take over. Yeah.
Every year we get special, limited number of tags to shoot, and lots of bears are killed on the roads. So even if it's small cub, it counts like bear. So you lose 1 tag.
So they actually count the ones that have been killed
Yes,
on the road, do they?
it makes sense because
of
the
course
thing
it
is, if I get 100 tags and we hunt, for example, we take out 100 bears, and we don't take in count whatever is killed by trains and cars, whatever accidents there are. Basically, you end up that year with not 100.
Taking more than that.
Exactly, much more than that. So they want to shoot government they also make stupid laws and things like that. It's all about politics. So they don't listen to people who are there, involved actively. So, for example, we have 1,000 bears. We think there is like 1,200 of them. It doesn't matter. They want us to shoot 10% of them. Shoot all different ages and so on. The problem is now, if I shoot small bear, there is no money which I need to run the ground to buy food, because there are wild boar, deer and so on. So you are investing, you want money for the ground, and you can get 1 license, maybe 3, but if you shoot small bear, there is no money even to cover the bait. So you need old mature animal, which it's the end of its lifespan, and basically beautiful trophy.
So are they not concerned about what the makeup is? It's 100 of anything.
Exactly, 100, and they want to shoot all. It's all politics. For them, it's just a number. For us, it's much more than that. And if we don't shoot, we are not concerned. We'll shoot another year. When it comes season, that bear will be there. We are happy that it's there. Government, you didn't shoot.
So they're almost giving you abuse for not shooting enough.
Oh yeah. You can lose even the concession because of that. Which is not.
That's a very difficult line to tread. That
it is.
That's what happens when you got someone looking at numbers instead of actually
not the reality
populations and reality on the ground.
Exactly that. And the problem is with wolf as well. We had plenty of wolves, and in 2013, suddenly we had clients hunting wolves legally. Some of them even shot wolves, and next morning suddenly it was banned.
Well, overnight.
Yeah. So what can you do with wolf now? You can't get the sighters permits. You can't get anything.
Wow. You'd think they'd do that maybe at some other point in the year when the season
starts. It happened overnight, without no reason. Reason was they spoke to somebody in Brussels.
In Brazil?
Brussels.
Oh, in Brussels.
Brussels. Brussels.
Who said we don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah. But what do you know? What we have in Croatia? I mean,
because you got a lot of wolves in Croatia.
Lots of them, and
they'll be taking their toll on the small bear.
They kill lots of deer, and especially when it's deep snow, they decimate. Exactly that. I mean, I have some pictures, and they're horrible. But we are happy to have wolves, but not in that number. But what happened? I mean, the contrary fact is that people are shooting them now illegally because they
want rid of them.
Exactly, not to get rid of them,
but because they're causing problems.
Exactly. Yeah. If you don't let me, and I have to pay concession to the government every year, and I can't hunt because I don't have enough deer, wild boar, and so on. What should I do? You don't pay me for the damage caused by wolf. What should I do?
Yeah.
So people take few wolves every year. Now the thing is, we don't know how many.
No, because now it's not regulated.
Exactly. And we are humans.
So it'd be far better for everything to be above board, monitored, permits, and then you can say, okay, less this year, more next year.
Exactly that. That's how it worked. It worked really well, and suddenly for the last 5 years, people are.
And that story is repeated around the world.
Yeah. It's the same wherever you go. Yeah. Wherever you go, and it's really sad. I mean, I don't know.
Tomo, I would love to speak to you for longer.
It's all right,
but we're going to have to start wrapping up now. That's been a fascinating discussion.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
And you get to listen to yourself on the next long journey.
See, I mean, the only problem will be I don't like my accent when I'm listening to myself, so...
We'll change it. We'll change it for you when we edit it.
Nicer, Borat accent.
Borat accent.
That's like how they call
nice.
me. I like it. Yeah, I like my wife. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah.
And
thank
on
you
that
very
note,
much.
Thank you, Tomo.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a couple of bars, but it's a very, very cool place, and we haven't actually had a chance to speak about it on the podcast yet because of obviously just getting back. But we're going to do a whole podcast on Svalbard and have Johnny, who took us there, to go and do some filming for him and talk all about it. But yeah, it's on a different scale of landscape to anything that we were used to, and a different level of cold as well.
Right. I experienced in Wyoming -29 while filming, which is not even what you were in.
Wow. No, I mean, -29 is cold. It was sort of, you walked out the door and it was like -20 to 25, but then you got to add the wind chill on top of that. So I think on top of the glacier the one day, we were probably down to like -40 or something crazy like that.
It's tough. It's tough.
How did you cope with your gear in that kind of temperature? We found that it mostly worked, but like screen lag
electronics are fine. Yeah, the electronics were all fine because they produced heat, but it was so cold, and we had a 35-mile-an-hour wind, so it was like the lenses and things, and actually one of the technical problems retrospectively was that as soon as you turned the engine off in the car, the contracting of the metal was making such a noise in the background with a sudden drop in temperature that through all the audio there's these pings as the metal's contracting.
We didn't have that problem, no heat.
I mean, the lenses would just get so cold that as soon as we went indoors, of course, I was actually worried we were going to crack them at one point. So, but
the one issue that we had was cables. Like, all the cables were eventually just so rigid, we were afraid to like bend them too much to get them in place. Yeah. exactly?
Yeah, actually, yeah, well, that's an interesting point. We didn't have many. Well, we had them on the audio, I suppose, and I didn't notice that. But we don't have many. There's not really much on the camera, so it's not too cabley.
Oh, that's not too bad.
But yeah, I didn't notice that. I guess the audio one was continuously moving.
Yeah, I suppose the problem was that we actually had some of our stuff packed down, and then for transport, and then we were putting it back together. So like the cable for our screen, cable for the audio, like you say, in the field. So then you're like, whoa, do I want to straighten this all the way, or is it just going to snap in half?
Oh god, yeah. And it's not like there's many places to get spares up there.
No, probably none.
But I'm filming in Greenland, actually, the next film, so I share this pain.
Tremendous. Well, you'll have to tell us all about that or come back on the show. But we've asked you to come back on this show because very relevant to the last time you were on, which I think was probably, trying to think now, a year and a half ago now?
It must have been about a year
probably, yeah.
And you were talking about your film, The Island and the Whales, and it is now in cinemas in the UK. We always tell people about it and say, you've got to go and see it. We've just said to a whole bunch of people recently now that it's showing in the UK. But I know that you've been speaking to very important people because you had to push back this podcast by now because you've just been on the BBC, right?
Yeah, with 5 minutes notice, live on BBC Radio London.
How was that?
Paris. It's always fun doing these chats. So it's a different angle. So they weren't talking about the environmental of the whales as much as the Nordic culture. So
okay. So what's it been like for you with regard to? I mean, you've kind of. It's done and dusted, and that film's been finished for quite a while. I mean, it was finished when we spoke to you, but it seems to have built this incredible momentum since we last spoke.
Yeah, it's been a nice. Sorry, there's a car going past. Are we rolling, by the way?
We are rolling, but that's quite all right.
Okay.
We're speaking to you live in the field because we know that you're jumping between different premieres and different interviews, so it's all good.
I'm in Lisbon right now, actually.
Oh, I thought you were in the UK.
I'm flying back tonight to London, but I'm in Lisbon right now.
So that's fine. I'm sure our listeners can cope with a little bit of disturbance knowing that you're flying here, there, and everywhere. So tell us about what the last sort of year and a half's been like as it's sort of built momentum up to now.
Oh yeah, it's been really nice actually to see the way that it's kind of snowballed through the years, and it's I suppose as the islands were a bit of a gem that I discovered. The film has been, I hope, something like that for audiences, and it's not. It's a challenging film, and we haven't simplified it into the boxes that people might have thought it was in, and therefore it just takes a little bit of chewing over and it finding its own feet, and for its merits to speak for itself rather than the presumptions people might think about what it is.
What's the feedback been like from? I mean, you've obviously been to some of the showings where you might have had a chance to speak to people before and after. Like, what has the reaction been like?
Well, it's really interesting that even Sea Shepherd activists who are in the film, who are arrested in the film, agree with the film as much as the whalers agree with the film. And that what we always wanted to do is create a bit of a North Star for everyone to look at, and a bigger story that, regardless of your opinion on the whaling and the hunting aspects of it, was that it's a dire situation where this pristine corner of the world is so toxic that babies are born with 40 times the safe level of mercury in them if their mother's been eating a bit of whale while she's pregnant. I mean, I didn't set out to make an environmental film, but when you're confronted with that as a reality and hear people still talking about denying man's impact on the natural world, and it's just completely, it's not a theory, it's completely physical reality there. So I think that all sides could come together on that, regardless if you're just disturbed by the hunting aspect. It's not good for people and it's not good for the animals either. So
there were so many stories. Sorry to interrupt you. But I was just going to say that there are so many stories within your film that we elaborated a little bit on it, a lot on it in the last podcast. But there's so many different angles to it. I think that's one of the things that made it fascinating. And we have, for the first time, just this week while we've been in Svalbard, had whale for the first time. We ate it. We ate some.
You ate some whale up in Svalbard?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Oh, and that's the thing. Is different species have different issues. So the bigger whales are not so high in mercury because they eat at the bottom of the food chain with the plankton and the krill, and so they are full of, unfortunately, the pesticides and those different pollutants are going off into the sea. So the Norwegian whales were just rejected by Japan for import because they were so high in pesticides. So
great, thanks for that.
So good luck with that. But yeah, the toothed whales are very high in polychlorinated biphenyls and vicious man-made chemicals that have a 10-year half-life. So once they're in your body, they're there for quite a while. And mercury, of course.
Well, I'll give you some feedback in 10 years then to see how we've got on after.
Let me know. Let me know how that goes.
So for people who, we're going to direct people back to the original podcast that we did.
Okay.
But for people who want to go and see what we're talking about, it's in a whole heap of locations. Where can they visit so they can see all the showings that are around the country in the next couple of weeks?
Well, on Thursday, 29th of March at 7 p.m, we're in Picture House Central with Channel 4's Jon Snow is hosting the Q&A with myself, and the professor in the film is coming from the Faroe Islands to join the panel, and that will actually be live streamed to several cinemas around the UK who are doing a simultaneous screening at the same time. So, and you can, all the listings are on the islands and the Wales.com /screenings, or you can just click on that page. But that's probably the best way, because I think there's they keep adding to them, but I think there's around 50 screenings around the UK. So
that's great. I'm gonna try and make one.
Most of them are one night only, so don't miss it.
No, we'll share the page from that as well, so that people can see. But they can visit the website and go and check out all the dates, which are being, like you say, added to all the time. Moving away from that, just as just a brief overview, what have you been up to since that? Because, like we said, that was quite a long time ago. But I know that you've been working on, because our mutual friend, John, who I was actually shooting with on the 12th of August last year, he was giving a little bit of insight into what you've been doing. But what have you been up to, or what's coming up next for you?
Well, we ended up in the wild west in Utah and Arizona and Wyoming, filming cowboys who take part in poetry competitions. These are real horseback riding guys moving cows around.
Poetry cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I saw the poster for it when I was driving a few years ago from San Francisco to Utah. I stayed in a hotel, and it was an overnight stopover. I saw a poster for the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering, and I had to know more about it. And so we started filming by chance the week after the American elections. So it was a contentious time and an interesting one to explore that part of the world. And these guys, they still feel the creative urge, despite working all the hours that they do, and use their holidays to travel thousands of miles and share their poetry with each other. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So we spent about 7 months of the last year filming that in between screenings of the Islands and Wales, and then there's another film, and I was also in Greenland. We have another production that's taking place there, which I can't say too much about yet, but will hopefully be finished by the end of this year as well. So
brilliant. So when can we expect to have you back on the podcast to talk about your Cowboys and Poetry
I'd like
film?
To say, late autumn. Hopefully, we can discuss the Greenlandic one. That would be good. And the Poetry of Cowboys, I think, will be finished in 2019. That's a bit of a slow cook cowboy stew. That one.
That's great. Yeah. Mike, I'm pleased that we managed to catch you in amongst everything you've been doing, just to give people an update, and hopefully this is going to encourage people to go and check out some of the screenings and go and see it. Daryl went to the premiere way back, just after we interviewed you last.
That's right.
At the Edinburgh Film Festival.
Yeah. But sadly, I missed it, so I'm going to try and make one of your new dates and take Beth along with me.
Great. I have to say, we will not have the Fairways pop band Zacharis there this time, which we had in Edinburgh. That was something to remember.
Yeah, it was.
But thanks for having me back on the podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure, Mike. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, you've just heard from Tomo, and then in between you heard from Mike Day. And join us again in 2 weeks' time, where I have no idea who's coming on the show, because we've got a few pre-recorded, and I think we've got some that are away to be recorded, so it will be a surprise.
It will be. Coming up, I know that we're definitely doing a show with Ben O'Brien, who's just started a new podcast called The Hunting Collective, which is excellent. I'm up to date and listen to all of it.
Oh, there you go. Another podcast suggestion for you.
Yeah, there you go. He's the man. He's from Yeti Coolers, but he's much more than that. He's a hunter, and he's connected to a lot of cool guys. And he seems, I don't know him, but I've spoken to him. He seems like a really great guy in his own right. And also, someone you've heard from before, Tyler Sharp, is going to be actually at our office in about 4 weeks' time for a couple of days. So we're going to do another in-depth podcast with him. Hopefully,
Tyler's from Modern Huntsman, by the way.
For those people who don't know, and hopefully we're going to do that with a beer in hand. Make it a little bit.
That'll be
less formal.
Yeah, less formal. So yeah, we should be back to normal scheduling from now on. And like we said, it was exceptional circumstances that we weren't in the country. But saying that, if I'd known how good the signal was, we probably could have released it at the correct time. I'm not even joking you. We had full 3G. You're talking like 30, 40 Ks out of Svalbard. Bear in mind, it's a town of 2,000 people, and you're going through these mountain ranges. I mean, you only have to drive 5 minutes from where our office is, and you lose signal on our hills, and that's like 4 or 5 Ks away, if that. Where the shooting range is.
Yeah.
So that's only a couple of Ks, and you lose all signal. But in Svalbard, full 4G. It's a nice thing, and it's also not a nice thing at the same time. It's only in certain places. They don't have it across the whole island. It is literally in 2 locations, outside the main town, and then outside the radio station.
You have to go and check out some of our pictures on that. I think most of the pictures are on Instagram, from that you've put up so far.
Yeah. There's
Pace_brothers.
We put up a lot more on Instagram, so Pace_brothers.
It will blow you away.
It will. And we've actually noticed, unfortunately, like all these things, social media is a pain, and Facebook went this way, and I think Facebook's kind of gone back a little bit. Basically, stuff stops showing in your feed. So we had a message from someone saying, I thought that you hadn't posted in a while, and I've just gone on your feed, and you've posted about 8 pictures. And I missed them all. And it's because it wasn't showing up on their feed. And I believe there is a button on Instagram where you can click follow or notify when we put up pictures.
You can notify, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, if you really do want to see what we're up to and keep up to date, then do that. Because otherwise Instagram is going to filter it. We have changed our account from a business back to personal to see if that makes any difference. It's just, damn, Facebook wanting money from us.
I know, that's well, it's Facebook own it, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And we have actually done a bit of a revamp on the website, so I'm hoping if we can just find a little bit of time, which is hard to come by, we should be able to start putting up a little bit more content on the actual website as well. And
we do have some more stuff coming in our store very soon. We're developing some new products and potentially some more coffee lines.
Oh yeah, that is exciting.
We're getting samples coming very soon. So if you didn't know, we have 2 branded coffees that is produced in Scotland, in Dundee, just down the road from us, roasted there, and we give a portion of it to charity. You can go on our website, all the W's, thepacebrothers.com, to find all of that stuff out.
Got fishing and hunting covered, both conservation charities.
Exactly. Well, that's enough time for us today. You can download this show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. You can listen on YouTube if you really want to. It's also on Spotify, which is becoming the big one for us now. Spotify's overtaking nearly everything.
It just got listed yesterday.
Yeah, it did get
publicly listed.
4 billion or 5 billion. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I'm still to grasp the concept of a company having the value of 5 billion but never turned a profit.
Yeah.
But I guess it's the number.
Potential.
It's the potential.
Yeah.
So you got instant reach of however million people they've got.
Well, it's just the same.
It's just data, isn't it?
Even in just an email list of people's contacts that these are hunting people. Here's an email list. It has
money.
a value.
Yeah, it does.
That's what companies do all the time.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And that's a complete divergence. So thank you very much for listening, and you'll hear from us in 2 weeks.